Morning, everybody. Happy Friday, TGIF. To the crew that's rolling in, thanks for tuning in on a Friday. Let people roll in as we go live, but I just want to say thanks to everybody that's watching. If you're watching on the replay, we go live 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Pacific time, Monday to Friday. It'd be great to have you join. But as always, you can catch the replay over on the channel after it's posted. There's our public service announcement for the day. And as people roll in, don't be afraid to say good morning. If it's your first time, good group of people here. We talk about TFSAs, we talk about investing, we talk about, well, wherever the conversation goes in that 45 minutes. So don't be afraid. Good group here. If I can't answer, if you have a question that's on your mind, if you're watching, fire it in the comments. We'll see where things go today. And if it's your first time, like I said, don't be afraid. It's a good group of people here. If I can't help you out, steer you in the right direction, guaranteed one of the coffee crew will be able to do it. And as for, let's see who's here this morning. Good morning, Candace. Always first. Didn't get beat this week. Good morning, Candace, welcome. And as always, thank you so much for being a channel member. I always appreciate that. Stan is here. Good morning, Stan. Hope you're well. Everybody's tuning in early on Friday. Maybe anybody off on this Friday? Long weekend for anybody, maybe? I've got work today, but... Nadia, good morning as well. Channel member, thanks Nadia. Just for the channel members, I did a portfolio update yesterday, which you'll see in the membership tab. You get a sneak peek, I guess, about a day early. So what I'll do for everybody else, you won't be left out. Don't worry. But the channel members get the portfolio updates or any kind of videos about a day early, and then what I'll do is I'll post it on the channel for the public after this live stream, so you can always catch that today. Not to worry. And Terrain, good morning. Happy Friday. MC, good morning. Always good to have you here. You made it. Good. And Abigail's here. Abigail Bailey, hello. It is not hard to beat you, so hopefully next week can beat every day. Well, that's the challenge. That's the challenge for next week. See if someone can beat Candace into the live stream. I know Candace does her day trading, so she's up early. Well, it would be early for me, because the market's open at 6:30 Pacific time, but Candace is back east, so not as early as it seems for people. So maybe there is a bit of chance to beat Candace to the stream. And Trevor, good morning. Good to have you here. I think that's everybody. But we do have to get Candace's ChatGPT joke of the day. Cat themed, which is fitting. My cat's not here today. She's outside, or not outside, but she's not in the room. She doesn't go outside. ChatGPT joke of the day. What is a cat's favorite investment book? The Financial Catalyst, a guidebook to avoid a financial cataclysm. That's a good one. Today. I love those coming in. Those are just terrible jokes. Need coffee today, that's for sure. Friday to get through the day. I was busy yesterday. I literally finished the live stream, and I was on my computer all day yesterday until about 6 o'clock, working. And now I did do that update video, and I had to do the update video, which you'll see shortly on the channel. I had to do it twice. So it took double the amount of time, because the first time I filmed it, I was not rolling the camera. I finished my whole video, and then I reached over to turn off the recording, and I realized I was turning on the recording. So that did not work out very well yesterday. So that was my day yesterday. There we go. In terms of channel and the market update coming up, looks like a little bit of green on Friday, which is kind of nice after yesterday. For me, as the channel members know, I did a few, and you'll see this in the update. Few little buys on my move stuff around a little bit. So that will be posted. You'll get to see that. The one thing I want to kind of increase, I guess, in my TFSA, is increase the position of yield Google shares. I wanted to get about 5%. So that's kind of my next little goal in the next little bit, to kind of bump that up. I have to kind of roughly double the position in there. That's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. If anybody else is thinking of doing anything with their portfolios, let us know in the comments. It's always good to hear what people are thinking about doing. That's what I want to get at, because I'm debating whether to kind of either sell something off, maybe maybe some Tesla CDRs, because I'm a bit over. I think a bit over. I wanted Tesla. My Tesla is over 5%, and I might kind of move things around and put that into yield Google. That's what's going through my head right now. But we'll see how that goes in the future. All right, and I had a couple articles, and again, as always, if anybody has anything they want to bring up, they definitely fire them in the comments. BAM is doing well, MC, and I've looked at that, and I wish I had. Well, I started off right with that StreamYard challenge, putting for the fractional shares into Brookfield Asset, then of course the spin-off and the split and everything else. I've continued with BAM, but I've left BN, and I probably should have just moved everything over into BAM. But anyways, not sure if you saw Brookfield as well as others that have defaulted on their loans on a few commercial buildings of the U.S. I did see that. That was a while ago. I think a couple weeks ago I did see that. I'll have to dig into what totally that was. But BAM is doing well. That's not a huge position in my. I'm just continuing on. I'm not going to be adding any extra in that because the whole kind of goal was to do it for a year to see what we get. And Weirdo says hi. Hi, Scoop. Okay, good. Say hi to Weirdo, the big Weirdo. I'd ask him when his next video is going to be up on the channel. I've been waiting. I'm subscribed and waiting for his next video. I'm wondering where that is. Okay, I did have a couple articles of news. Let's pull them up. Let me find my tab here. There we go. Hopefully this always works because we talked about. Oh, and he said this weekend. Okay, this weekend. Okay, excellent. I'll watch it. Let's pull this up. Hopefully that goes. It works. There we go. Screenshot works. Interest rate decision right next week. Is it Tuesday? I believe. And Bank of Canada expected to hold the rates next week, which is kind of what they said, right? Conditional pause. So I think that's a given. I don't think we're going to have any. I don't think there's going to be any surprises next week by any means in rates. So that's kind of a good thing for people that are with floating rates and any kind of debt and that kind of stuff. But the other article, so this is interesting because this will have been a year. This next week, this announcement, that's when they started to raise these rates, right? And they were basically this time last year were basically near zero, essentially, and they're up to 4.5%. It's the highest it's been since 2007. But what I found more interesting is this next article. Let's find that. Is just a survey of. There we go. This was a survey, a poll of economists polled by Reuters. Said that the bank are more likely to sound hawkish on the 8th next week. But they also are saying of the 32 economists polled, this is polled on February 24th to March 3rd, expect the bank to hold its overnight rate at 4.5%, obviously this month. And the majority forecast that they will keep it that way for the rest of 2023, despite what they're saying in the States with the Fed, are saying that rate hikes are still going to be happen there. That will be interesting to see. I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts on that one. I think the Bank of Canada is going to try and hold them as a pause for as long as possible. It's hard to say whether they'll get through the whole year. That will be. We'll know as we go. But I did find that that part interesting in regards to keeping them low for long with the pause. So we'll have to see. It's always interesting. Next week we'll see. It's always interesting. Obviously, we know they're not going to be raising rates on the 8th, but it's always interesting to hear their kind of the commentary that goes with it. So that we'll be able to talk about that in the live stream next week when we'll jump on and we'll have the announcement will be done. So we'll be able to kind of jump on and see what the heck is going on and what their tone is in terms of everything, which is I think sometimes just as important, especially when nothing changes or no rate changes. And Sean out plowing. Hopefully it's not too much snow. All ours here has finally kind of melted away, except for the big piles that have been plowed, in the parking lots and stuff like that. But the roads are clear, which is good. So hopefully you didn't get too much. We're actually fortunate. The West Coast, the snow never lasts very long on the road. We get hammered with a storm. It's disaster and Armageddon on the streets for the day or two of the storm, but then it kind of clears up, which is good. We're not known for our winter driving, and a lot of people don't have proper tires here and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, good call, MC. I'll read the rest of your comment because it doesn't all quite show up. I think the U.S. will continue to raise with inflation being high. Yes, agree. And the strong job market. Yeah, Canada less likely to raise because debt is higher here. Debt is higher in Canada. If true, the U.S. dollar will likely strengthen versus Canadian. That's what's going to happen. Canadian dollar is going to, and that's not necessarily good for us either, right? With inflation, because if we're getting products and stuff from U.S. dollar, priced in U.S. dollars, and everything else is going to get more expensive for us. Not good. On that note, though, the one investment that I have is benefiting. If you obviously have investments in U.S. dollars, then that will be that will strengthen those up for you. But the venture fund is actually doing. I'll have to do another update. There hasn't been obviously too much happening, but the venture fund that I have invested in Wealthsimple is doing quite well. That's obviously based on definitely based on U.S. dollars there. So that's kind of working out so far. But again, that's long term, 10 years in that one. So can't take 6 months or 8 months of anything to see what happens long term. And oops, I skipped over one there. There we go. 2 more hikes in the States before they consider pause. That's kind of what they've been saying, right? That's kind of what they've been saying. But yeah, they just don't have the same. They don't have the same pressures there in terms of what we have, especially in housing, right? If the States, they don't have the same. They do have floating rates and stuff like that. But I don't know the statistics in the States for mortgages, but I know the rates were so low. I think a lot of people would be going into a fixed rate mortgage in the States. That's the understanding I would get. I don't think their adjustable rate mortgages are as popular there. I could be completely wrong, but I think kind of a lot of it partly after 2008 there was some issues with adjustable mortgages, and mortgages are just different there than in Canada. They'll do longer, they'll take it for the entire term. And the rate is locked, right? So these people in the States are sitting on phenomenal mortgage rates, and so they just won't move. They unless they absolutely have to. And people getting new mortgages has obviously dropped down in the States because rates are higher. In Canada, it's a different story, right? Because people that have variable rate mortgage or adjustable rate mortgage, there's different ones in Canada too, but if you have an adjustable rate mortgage here, the rate goes up, your payment goes up, right, with the Bank of Canada. So people, for example, Scotiabank is the one that has the payments change, right, as the rates go up, so your payments are higher. Other ones and we've seen it in the news, it's kind of popped in the news. I caught it on Twitter a couple days ago, and we talked about it a little bit, is with TD came out with their finances, and CIBC came out first, and this is when it kind of got popped up in my Twitter feed. 27% of CIBC mortgages now are over 35-year amortization. That's because of the rate, Bank of Canada rate going up so much. And MC, exactly, it's over 20. It's 27. I don't know if the trigger rate's a little bit different, but you're probably close to that. I read in their finances, I pulled up if you want to pull up their financial report and search for it, you can find it, but it's 27% of CIBC mortgages are over 35-year amortization. They don't go up past that number of years. So people are definitely hitting their trigger rates. That's probably pretty accurate, 20%. I bet you if there was another rate increase, there would be another big trigger. I have a friend that had a TD mortgage, and TD mortgage is the same. The payment stayed the same, but then if the rate fluctuates, you're paying less principal, more interest. Their mortgage was at one point the amortization was over 100 years. And they got the letter. So, I mean, they were in a fortunate enough position to be able to do a lump sum payment to bring the amortization back down. But it is still, the amortization is still over, I think it's, if I remember correctly what they said, when they looked again, it was still over 40 years. So they'll have to be making some adjustments to that as well. So it's going to impact people. It's going to impact people, especially when it's, come renewal time. And this is the whole what if. What's going to happen when you're renewing? Obviously, in Canada, the longest amortization that they would offer would be 30 years. And now, do you have to renew when you renew and adjust your payment to come back to the contracted amortization of your mortgage? That's going to be a big increase in payment for some people. So interesting to see definitely what's going to happen. Although, I mean, that's not going to be overnight, but it's definitely down the road for certain borrowers, depending when their maturity is. Excuse me, I missed one more comment here. There will be pressure for leaders in Canada to bring down inflation. Yes, but so I think they will also raise, but maybe more slowly. Inflation affects everyone, and so people tend to be noisy about it. Yes, that will be the case. Starting to really pinch. Although, I mean, it increased so aggressively, right? But it just takes. We're seeing now how it's starting to. It's almost like the first few increases. It just takes a while to get through the system, right? It doesn't happen instantly. So we'll have to see how things pan out in the months and quarters ahead. There's some of those you can search for those out. MC, amortization of variable I've seen one over 100 years from a bank before. Yeah, I think it was, I don't have it saved, but it was, I think 100 and I want to say 100 and it was over 130 or like it was something that would make you spit out your coffee. That's for sure. Well over 100 years with that. Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know the answer. It is kind of scary because when you start to really see the numbers and dig into the numbers for the amount, especially with homeowners that are, if you're stretched, right? Because everything's more expensive. If your payment goes up on your house, then the hydro is more expensive. Gas is more, like home. Natural gas is more expensive, groceries more expensive. Everything is like really, everything's are starting to really bite, for sure. I've noticed that too. I mean, I did a grocery order today, and you look at what you put in your cart, and you're like, you don't get much anymore for $190 kind of thing, right? It doesn't. It's pretty crazy. I mean, obviously you have staples that are going to last you, freeze stuff and whatever else, but you're just like, it's not. You end up getting your cart out when you do your curbside, and it's like a couple of bins are filled, and that's it. Whereas used to, I mean, geez, yeah, it's crazy with prices. Biggest cost being housing. I think we need higher unemployment to bring these costs down. Yeah, rents are high. Rents are high as well. Definitely. It's expensive everywhere. The thing with the rents too, though, like a lot of the people that bought in the last couple of years, MC were investor, like not were. I want to say more mom and pop investors, right? People using a line of credit to put a down payment on a rental property, having to qualify with a variable rate because it was cheaper to qualify. It was a cheaper rate, right? And it was easier to qualify for more purchasing power with a variable at the time, just the way the benchmark qualifying rates go in Canada at the time. And then they rent their home out or apartment out or whatever they were renting, and then the costs of everything went crazy. So a lot of these places that have landlords that are renting are in negative cash flow, and that you can only do that for so long. You can only carry that for so long. And I think a lot of people bought investment properties in the idea that obviously the fallacy is that real estate always goes up, and we're seeing that it doesn't right now. And perfect example, right? You rented your 2-bedroom condo out 18 months ago for $2,400. So it's probably the same, the rent is probably the same or increased with the cost of that you're allowed to increase it. But today you could rent it out for, right, $500, $400 or $500 more a month. And the costs of that, your carrying costs have I'm going to assume gone up as well. Property taxes, perfect example, Vancouver, right? 10.7% increased property taxes. I don't know why your comment's not there. It goes, it's gone. Everything more expensive that for the carrying of that condo, and you're not able to pass that on to the renter unless you get a new renter and they move out. But then this is the thing: nobody wants to leave their, no one's going to want to leave their 2-bedroom $2,400 condo for somewhere else unless they really have to, because it's going to be more expensive. Yeah, exactly. 20% increase in 18 months. Yeah. I know. I mean, I noticed that with where I am, because I'm renting now, just for a series of circumstances from years ago, just with family and all that kind of stuff, and moving around and all that kind of thing. It's owning doesn't make sense for me right now, but you notice that with rents, definitely with rents. But I mean, I'm in the fortunate enough position to be able to move. I don't have to work. I don't have to be in a big city, right, where it's more expensive. So works out that way. And Sean spent $900 last month in diesel alone in your Volkswagen. That is crazy for the cost of fuel, right? I'm fortunate enough to, thankfully, I don't have to drive to work and commute at all. So I rarely even put gas in the tank. So that's good. At least good for me. But I know when you go into the pump, and I always see the people, if you have somebody in front of you with a big truck or something like that, and you look at what they paid to fill up their truck or car, it's like, holy cow, some of these big bills for gas. I couldn't imagine. So current tenant was considering moving out 6 months ago when they told me. You said, good luck, you'll be back. Yeah. It's true. It's true when you find it. And if you find it, you know what? If you find a really good tenant, sometimes it's I don't want to say take a loss by any means, but sometimes it's better to not, like you said, sometimes on the market rent of today, MC, you might make $400 a month or more, but you risk sometimes getting a terrible tenant that could cost you way more than that down the road, whether they start missing payments of rent. So if you have a good tenant that's always paid and kept the unit in good condition, and nothing's been broken and all that kind of stuff, because there's horror stories out there for sure there's horror stories out there I've heard with the renters, especially if they fall on hard times, right? So if you're getting someone new, you have to really be careful. I mean, anybody can kind of lose a job or something like that. But if you've had steady tenants in there for a while, I think it's sometimes better to make a little bit less in the shorter term, because in the long term it will pan out. I know people that have rental properties, and they've rented them out, got good rent, but then all of a sudden they broke their lease and they moved and they're gone, and then it sits empty for a month. Not because they can't rent it, they found a renter, but then the renter can't come get in there till the following month, so it kind of sits, right? And then you're losing out on that basically 1 month or maybe half a month. And then they had the second renter had left again, because I don't know, they moved, who knows what happened. And so there's another like half month or close to a month of no rent coming in. So it's not always great to have to change tenants, for sure. It's harder to find a good one, I think, than you want to keep one. Working from home does save a ton. I used to commute, and this is years ago, Candace. So four, time flies. About 4 years ago, I stopped commuting fully, and at that time, that was mid 2019. But I would save on just fuel alone roughly about $2,000 a year. just by working from home. And that wasn't including, I mean, that's just fuel, not maintenance or anything, extra maintenance, that kind of stuff on cars. Yeah. So you can definitely save a lot. I also drive a little economical car, right? If I was driving a big fuel guzzler, big truck or something to work every day, it would be probably triple that. I have little Mazda. Little Mazda is not very much, is pretty fuel efficient for commute. So Sean Mark shift, and your wife works from home. So a reality check, is that a good reality check or a bad one? But and if you're able to work from home, if it's couples, yeah, it can be kind of it can be as people found out, I think, in the last few years, as work from home was for a lot of people. I think they found out that it was that's why I think the market kind of went all wonky too, because people were looking for more space because there was more people working from home, and yeah. Whole bunch of scenarios started to really get accelerated, but you realize that you don't usually, if most people are in their office 9 to 5, and then you just come home together. You come home together in the evening. You don't need as much space. But if you're both working from home all day, you find out you do need more space. Yeah, and condo fees, right? There's costs that people don't necessarily think about. I mean, you think about them, but you don't necessarily put it all and think about the big picture of all the other costs. All of a sudden, your rent covers, but when things start going up, 7.5% for condo fees go up every year. When I was in a townhouse, every year it was like more and more and more, and then you get a special assessment because they have to paint or they have to do some kind of maintenance, big water main maintenance, all these things that you get, these extra costs that you don't quite think about, that kind of keep going up in price. And condo fees, 7.5%. You're guaranteed just every year they go up, and even when the period of time isn't very inflationary, condo fees would go up because things are getting older, things break more in the common property, so it's and it never is they never go down. Let's put it that way. So okay, I think the break even for your rental is around $1,850. So at least you figured it out. That's good. I knew you would. So you do have some cash flow even at $2,400. Yeah, you do. Interesting. You began renting out in 2018 for $2,000. So rent has gone up 45% in 5 years. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's just insane. I'm trying to remember what I'm paying for rent here. I'm paying probably roughly 20% more than I was paying, but I'm in a different province now. I was in Alberta before, but the place I had before was not double the size, but a good 25% larger. Like, it was definitely larger, and had a way bigger outdoor area in my like patio and stuff. But it's definitely more expensive now. It's definitely more expensive. Although I did benefit. I was for the last, well, not anymore, but for a year prior, I was about 9 months staying with helping my mom out. So thankfully, mom didn't charge me room and board. I just had to pay. I just bought the groceries and all, other things, but that helped out a lot too. Not having to pay rent every month, which was nice. Yeah, there we go. And that is all the articles that I had to pull up. Interest rates, inflation, never a fun topic. We need a fun topic. So if someone mentions, let's bring up I think a good topic going forward. I think we're 1 sec here. Yeah. That nails it. Yeah, that nails it. It was just my mom. My dad isn't home, but yeah, it was fine at the time. It was fine, but it is good for the wallet mentally. No, it can be it can be stressful to say the least, especially when you're trying to, you have to work and stuff like that. It's just a different, I wouldn't, you have to put myself in her shoes too. All of a sudden your 46-year-old, 45-year-old son's moving back, puts her scheduling and stuff out of whack too, and her kind of thing. But it was fine. It had to kind of happen. So it all works out. At least you know where you are, Candace, with Siri. Yeah. Is Siri going off? I don't have an e-watch, so I don't have to worry about that. It doesn't bug me. Doesn't bug me at all. I don't. Apple Watch is definitely popular, but I don't. I've never had one. Just a regular watch, winding watch. I was listening to, and it just tells the date, the time and the date. That's it. I was listening to a podcast, and the host suspected inflation will hover between 3 and 4 rather than 2, which seems much more achievable in the short term. I think I think that's probably on the mark. I mean, we're coming into a year, right? So we're coming to the year, so the prices, we'll probably see it come down a little bit, but it doesn't mean they still weren't elevated from before. I don't think we're going to get to the 2%. Maybe towards the end of the year it'll be a 2%, but it might just be for a month or so. It won't. It's going to be, I think, elevated for a while. What podcast was that, MC? It'd be interesting to kind of hear. Everybody's got their favorite podcasts. You take it off. You could almost have her as a guest asking questions for that, piping up over the live stream. That's always funny. It's funny these features on these. It shows that I'm getting old and in my set of my ways, because I mean I use a Mac, iMac, and I've updated it all, and new operating system and everything else. So it's great. But every once in a while, like, I'll move my mouse around and like the screen shifts over, or I'll move it to a certain spot on the screen and something else, like the notes pop up, and I'm like, what the heck is all this? And I don't even know near the features that these computers have anymore. I'm just like, I use my browser and Adobe, and that's just what I want to do. It has all these other kind of weird things. I'll be working, and then all of a sudden I'll drag a window over, and it shifts the whole app over to another thing, and trying to figure out where my desktop is. And yeah. Yeah, it's good. MC, they're good for that. I have a friend of mine has that for heart stuff. It does your like ECG, and it keeps track of your sleep. So for health, it's actually really good. It is actually really good. It will track your health rate. It will also track, like, for exercising, right? If you turn it on, it will track how far you walk and stuff like that. Yeah, those are kind of interesting things. And I actually did read a thing with Apple. They have a, like, in their research and development, they set up a separate company, and they're trying to develop a sensor for the watch that will check your glucose. There we go. Candace said it. Yeah, they're working on that. So they have it developed, but they're trying to shrink it to be able to work on a watch, I guess. For diabetics, which would be massive, because obviously right now, I think you have to do the test with a pin, right, to get a blood test, or like a little spot test, but it hurts. I've actually done those before, and they don't hurt, but they're uncomfortable to have to. I think if you had to do them every day, it would be very annoying and uncomfortable. So they're trying to develop that, where the sensor of the watch can look and do its magic. So I caught that as well, Candace. So no needle. That would be I think good for if you had Apple stock. I think that would be a good time to good time to have had it before if that actually comes out. It's interesting. I think they have the technology to do it, from my understanding, Candace, when I was reading through. It's just the size right now. They have to bring the size of it down to be able to fit in a watch, which they'll probably get there eventually, I guess. But I did find that interesting. So those watches are pretty. The watches are pretty. Yeah, they're getting there, I guess. I mean, it's the health stuff they have on there now is pretty amazing already if you think about it. But they are definitely, there's lots they still can do. But I mean, when you do think about it, I mean, even 10, 20 years ago, having something like that on your wrist is pretty amazing now, right? It's got GPS. It can do SOS stuff. If you fall, have a certain type of fall or accident, I think it will send an SO. I think it will also send an SOS, if I'm not mistaken. All the heart monitoring, all the sleep monitoring, all the exercise monitoring, and yeah, it's one of those things. It can be. They're expensive. They're not cheap, right? Like they're I mean, they're about $1,000. I mean, depends what one you buy, but let's just say they're about $1,000. So it's expensive, and if you have to keep upgrading it each series, this is how technology goes. Though they get you to want to keep upgrading. So by the time if you're buying it's like iPhones. It only comes to a point where you don't have to upgrade them every year, and they kind of are like the phones. I think have kind of plateaued a little bit. You can only have so many cameras on a phone before they all kind of start to look the same. But it'll be interesting to see what they work in. I think the health way is maybe something in the future. But yeah, that's part of the reason I haven't bought an Apple Watch. Well, number one, maybe they do now. I could be wrong, but they didn't work at the time with Android phones. So you would need an iPhone to kind of have it use all the features. I think that's maybe changed a little bit. It could be wrong, but also too, it's the upgrade in the battery. In their perfect example, battery update, and then you always have to charge it every night. Remember to charge it every night. If you forget to charge it, it's I'm more of a regular watch person, so that's kind of it. Yeah, I don't really. I don't like even on my phone. I wouldn't take advantage of any kind of the notification stuff. I have all my stuff off on my phone anyways. I don't get any notifications. I don't get any, like if a text message comes in, I don't get any buzz or beep or anything like that. I really just use it for pretty much a phone and apps that I use. I don't really use a lot of the stuff that it's to use. Yeah, I know. A friend has it. It doesn't really take long. I mean, even if it's kind of partly dead, or almost dead, you can charge it. I think 20 minutes or something like that, and it's like, it's charged for the most part to let you go. I think the batteries are definitely gotten better from the beginning. I still look at them. The new ones are quite neat. I do a lot of like hiking and camping, so sometimes those features with like the SOS thing might be not a bad thing. Oh, you have a 2020. I see. The cheap one. Yeah. Used the 20 before replacing it, but the first few gens of iPhones need to be replaced far more often to do a performance boost. Yeah, that's what happened. They really at the very beginning, they were like, each year was like quite substantial. I'm the same way, MC, with my phone now. It's an Android. I don't even know. It's a S9, I think. S9 SE or something like that. I'm not on contract anymore, so I own it, and it's fine. And the battery still works great, so I'll just use it for forever. The only thing I wish it had is I wish it had a head. It doesn't have a head. These stupid phones these days don't have headphones jacks, and I like to use wired headphones because I find the Bluetooth ones, if they're earbuds, I always lose them, or you forget to charge them, or the connection's terrible, and I'm not spending a fortune on, I'm not going to spend $200 on a pair of headphones that I'm going to lose. And your iPhone 11 still works. Yeah. What is the number of iPhone? Is it 13, 14 now? I'm not really sure. I'm out of the Apple loop. That's the thing with Apple stuff, is there's stuff that they do build like computers, especially, they last a long time. I mean, my Mac I've had for, oh geez, I bought it in 2020, and it's still perfect. So 3 years, I won't have to update this thing probably for, I don't know. The ones before that I had for 6-7 years. So yeah, the phone does that too. Something lights up and you look at your thing. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. iPhone 14, like the Pro or the Max, and they have so many things. Sometimes Apple stuff I find a bit confusing now too, with all the numbers. They have like the 14, the Pro Max, and it can be a bit confusing with what you're actually getting. And they it's the same with their computers. They make them and they make a base model, then they make the mid model, then they make a high end model. But then you don't necessarily want the base model, so you go to the mid model because it's only a little bit more, and then you go, well, the the higher model is only a little bit more than that. So you end up going from wanting to buy a base model to buying the top of the line one, because that's how they get you in there. But they're good they're good computers. I've been on an Apple for years, and since Mac OS 9, like years and years and years and years. I don't think I could. If you put me in front of a Windows computer, I probably wouldn't know how to use it. That's how long I've used an Apple computer. I probably would not buy an Apple Watch until you're over 50. I'd sooner buy a Rolex that at least goes up in value. It can stay working forever if maintained and rehauling. It's true. It's true. I should have invested in. I should have invested the same amount of money in my. If I put the same amount of money into my TFSA I put it into if I put it in, I think into a Rolex, I would have been up. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, you're not going to sell. I think the only way you would sell an Apple Watch for maybe some profit is if you bought the first one and then didn't unbox it and left it shrink wrapped and then sold it somehow down the road. I saw a thing on MC on. I saw a thing on. It was on. Was it on? Might have been on Twitter. Someone had sold a Apple phone, the very first Apple phone, and they had it in a shrink wrapped box, never opened. And I think they sold it for like $40,000 or something like that, something ridiculous, to some collector that wanted that. So there's maybe that, but it's kind of I don't think that's a good hedge. You're probably better off buying a decent watch, and if you wanted to keep it, put it in a safety deposit box and let it sit there. And if you have, I don't know, family, kids or something, inherit it maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty, yeah. Yeah. Although I don't know, I haven't looked at what Rolex prices are. I know they're expensive. And I don't know what the used stuff is probably going for expensive too. It'd probably come down a little bit though, with people probably maybe having to sell them off, luxury stuff, selling off for money if they need it. Seems to kind of happen, But the one thing is though, MC, they will last forever if looked after. Yeah. Some of the Daytonas, even the regular ones, you'll do well. Well, someone I worked with had one, not a vintage one, but had the new one, and he got it, and he uses it all the time, and he got offered, so like, I would be tempted if I had it to sell it, because the prices he was getting offered for people to buy it off him used was like double what he paid. So they did used to be. That's the thing. You can look at some of those old clips, like Antique Roadshow clips and stuff like that. And you see the receipts. I mean, they weren't cheap, but they were not. They were definitely more reasonable, even with inflation and stuff like that. I mean, I think the thing with Rolex is they artificially suppress their supply a little bit, or maybe not so much artificially now with labor and that kind of stuff to do, with the supply and demand is basically what it is. But they only can make so many a year, I guess. But although no one knows how many they actually make or can make, but yeah. The prices used to be a lot cheaper, and people would buy them, and this is the crazy thing. They're still working. It's pretty amazing if you see things from that, from so long ago. They are still working. So if you break it down over a lifetime, if you buy one, compared to an Apple Watch will cost you, let's say, $1,000. How many Apple Watches are you going to buy over the course of your, if you're just having to upgrade Apple Watches? I think you're going to get pretty close eventually to the cost of what an actual luxury watch would cost, which is interesting. Everybody's got their own however people want to spend their money. It's everybody's choice, but that's would be one way to think about it too. And then after the $1,000 Apple Watch stops working, you throw it away, because you can't repair it. All right. Well, there we go, everybody. This is it's already quarter to 9, so it is kind of time to start wrapping up, rolling up. If anybody has any kind of last minute comments, anything like that, fire them up, and we'll get going here. Yeah, you can still send them in. That's the thing. I think that they will do. Yeah, they will. I think they will almost kind of do anyone. There might be some limiting things with that, but I know there's lots of there's not a lot anymore, but there is independent watchmakers that can always repair. Usually, sometimes repair stuff as well. But yeah, I think they do. I know there might be a time that they cut off on doing it, but I think you could probably find a watchmaker that would actually be able to service something that's possibly really old. But I think the only one that ever will repair any watch they've ever made, I could be wrong on this, MC, but I think the one company that will repair any watch in their entire history is Patek Philippe. I think they'll always repair a watch no matter how old it is, even if they have to make the parts from scratch, which is pretty crazy to think about it. Yeah, there we go. Candace, good to have you here as always. Thanks to the channel members. And nothing too crazy in vintage day dress. The Explorers are nice. Yeah. Good call. It's a good milestone to kind of, if that's what you wanted to work for, right? For a good milestone, maybe retirement, something like that. Yeah. You can still find some decent prices, on certain things if you like it, for sure. That's cool. We could talk about watches all day. But anyways, it is Friday. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday for live stream, 8 o'clock. We'll also I will do portfolio update over the weekend. Obviously, after the markets close today, at some point over the weekend, I will be posting that. As always, channel members will get it a day ahead of time. I'll post it to everybody else the day after, so you're not going to miss out. Don't worry about that. But special shout out Candace for tuning in today, channel member, and also Nadia was here. I saw, if I missed someone that's a channel member and hasn't said hi or anything yet, say hi. But if not, you just again, thanks, appreciate it. But again, thanks to everybody for tuning in, watching the live streams, watching the regular videos. These are a lot of fun to do. We always have kind of a good time. It's a good way to start the day, and it's a good way to end the week. Hopefully everybody has a good weekend. If you haven't already, before you leave, don't forget, hit the like button. Always appreciate it. And have a good weekend, MC. We'll see everybody else. See you on Monday. Take care, everybody.